I was a trained painter. The things that I studied and the things that I looked at intently are still in my head. And I can still see all these things. And I can call on these things anytime I want to produce more art. Everything about my life is visual, even though I really can't distinguish color and I just see blurry shapes. But in my mind, I see it. I told you also that I see projections of something that's inside my eyes that project out. It's kind of color and light and a kind of a kaleidoscope of shapes that change. Especially at night when it's completely dark, I will project this out and not forget that it's not there. I call them visions, but they're things that happen in your brain when your vision starts to disintegrate. It may not be what a sighted person sees, but I'm seeing something different. But it's probably just as real. It's complicated. Part of my seeing are these spots and shapes and colors, and they always move and vibrate, and they're part of my environment. I just got so into it. It got me back to painting. It's like an abstract painting that just keeps moving. It's like when you push against your eyes with your fist and you see colors. Did you ever do that?
I have actually kind of done that, yeah.
Well, that kind of thing. I remember one time in particular, I sat there with a sketchbook and would close my eyes, and I started to see this yellow square with a blue design in the middle. It was kind of like a butterfly, and it was blues and greens, and the wings were outlined in purples. Then as it progressed, the center of the butterfly started to become transparent, and the wings expanded and expanded. And they kind of reminded me of maybe veins. It expanded and became a flower shape, like a lotus blossom with pointy leaves. Eventually it became just a gossamer kind of lavender webbing over this intense orange, and it kind of started disappearing. It really scared me because I didn't want to tell anybody. I thought maybe they'd think I was taking LSD. So, I kept quiet about it for a while. A lot of people see that. That's common, the circle. So I'm not alone in here in this. And that's why I talk about it, because before I wouldn't. I was afraid that people think I was crazy.
It used to be for me that being able to see beauty was how I felt joy in my life. I was afraid when I lost a vision that I would lose joy. Being able to still kind of imagine things helps me to have more of a feeling of that there's joy. I'm just a visual person. I'm still that way. I have a map in my head, and it's a picture. And in every room I walk into in my house, there's a picture in my head of what that room looks like. Even though the house I live in right now is one that I've never really seen. When I touch something or when I hear something, then I have a picture in my head. And then I'll remember, I'll say, oh, wait a minute, really, you can't see it all. And then I'll notice, oh, yeah, it's all this solid, grayish, whitish stuff. I remember when I first became totally blind, and I would look like where the refrigerator was, and I would think that I still saw it. And I'd say to myself, no, you don't see it. And I'd realize I didn't see it. I'm getting kind of more adjusted to not having to see something in front of my eyes. I discovered, too, that I became more interested in the insides of things. When you see something visually, you're seeing only the outside surface of it. But if you can touch something, so you can get a sense of the inside and the outside. So I did some sculptures there for a while that had a lot of holes in them, and the inside was just as important as the outside. I did one show in which I really analyzed what was beautiful to me as I was going blind. I used to love pastel colors, and things are very subtle, and And as I was losing it, more and more color became more and more important. Then it was the brighter colors, like red especially. It became, in the intense colors, became really quite beautiful. And then as I started going blind, it was as though light would just kind of smear across and kind of hide things. And so I think I've just gained more of a sense of beauty in mystery and the not knowing. Somehow I must be finding that same sense of joy and beauty in other ways. The writing is doing it, and I find with that, there's a picture in my mind, and what I'm doing in my writing is describing what I see. There were a couple of years there where maybe they call that the dark night of the soul, where I wasn't finding it in anything and searching for it, you know. And it's been thrilling to have it happen now and then in the writing, in images that show up, the metaphors that can come to me sometimes.
I can't imagine not having any visual image, and that's why I guess I'm a visual person still. You learn pretty soon that you visualize in so many ways. Do you say a word and then you have an image about the word, or do you image something first in the brain and then it becomes a word? For me, I think the visual came first. I'm not sure I ever thought about the behavior of looking. Maybe photography is different in a way because the behavior means you hold the camera, and then I brought the camera up, put the viewfinder to my eye, and took a photograph. But later on, if I can't see that thing that I'm still trying to photograph, then certainly my behavior is going to change. So maybe we have two behaviors of looking, a behavior of looking and a behavior of perceiving. I had written earlier somewhere that the camera was a stand-in for my eyes, and when I can't see my object, then I have to rely on sound patterns and word patterns. Sound is layering over what were visual elements. I can hardly help thinking of images of some kind or other. I have these incredible dreams where sometimes the relationships are so bizarre. I mean, architecturally, or a whole bunch of stuff comes together that was seen over 20 times at 20 different places, and then they're recombined. I can still perceive light, even though I can't see anything. I can tell when it's bright, since I can perceive something that's darker and something that's lighter. It makes the space have some kind of shape. Maybe I have to feel through the space now, as well as having an image of what it is visually. It's kind of crawling through the space to the camera and back. It is a way of trying to perceive the spatial connection as well as the image itself. Maybe they become one. I'm not sure I could define what it means to see because I can't. I mean, I can do it mentally. I think people see so differently, and it's just hard for me to know how people look at things.